some activity and movement take place since we were first notified about the vandalizing of the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. monument in City Park. When we last met, we had asked the community to come forward to help pay for the damages that we knew about. I'm really glad to report that we really do have a wonderful, giving and caring community. We ask citizens to participate with the GoFundMe aspect so that everybody could contribute and give to rectifying this act, which never should have occurred in the first place. I'm very pleased to say that today we have received some $10,000, and the best part of that is that it's been from a lot of different, just ordinary people. The highest amount contributed has been $1,000, and the lowest amount has been $10, but most of the gifts were between $25 and $30. And so this really has been a reflection of ordinary people responding to something that they care about. I'm also dissatisfied to learn that the Joseph Addison Thatcher Memorial Fountain was also harmed in terms of the elements that it is composed of, and we're concerned about that as well. Thanks to the Denver Police Department, we have been able to identify suspects that did this awful act. We know about the Dr. King Memorial, and we're not sure about who is responsible for the Thatcher Memorial. But all of these trends should stop. And we who care about America and care about American heroes and about progress of our city and our state and our nation should not have these kinds of acts going on now. And so I would like to call upon the citizens to continue to give, because we still need to concern ourselves with security and with safety and making sure that we have the due respect that is due the monuments that we have gathered over the years. And so with that in mind, I would like to say thank you to all of these people who are trying to make a difference in maintaining the spirit of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and also the necessity for us to know that the arts matter to our telling our story as people, as groups of people, as the city, as the state, as the nation, and the world. So with that, all of these people have various components of our society have responded, and that's a good thing. And so right now I'll give you back to the Master of Ceremonies, Mayor Wellington E. Webb.
Okay. Chief Thomas.
Thank you, and thank you all for coming. I'm Denver Police Chief Ron Thomas, and the update that I can share is that obviously these artifacts, these pieces of art have been recovered. What we know is that on the 21st of February, it was reported to us that the items were stolen, that there had been an event of vandalism to the statue and the monument there. That same day, we put out a scrap theft alert to the scrap community, believing that maybe these items were stolen for scrap. Thankfully, 2 days after we filed that alert, we got indication from one of the scrap companies that these items had in fact been turned in to that company, and they had information on who the suspect was that turned those items in. So we did respond to that particular scrap yard, recovered those items, verified that they were in fact the stolen items. We also were able to identify that there were a number of other items that were turned in at the same time that belonged to the Thatcher Memorial, as was briefly mentioned. So it appears at this time, certainly we will continue this investigation and try to identify the exact motive for the suspect, one of whom has been identified, just not taken into custody, and another who remains unidentified at this time. But we will continue that investigation to determine what their specific motive was. But it doesn't seem at this time as though their motive was just to get money. I will say, though, that shame on them for not understanding the historical and cultural significance of this particular monument to this community, and I think that certainly indifference can be just as harmful as hate. And so I'm thankful that that there was no indifference on the part of the Denver Police Department to, to actively investigate this case. Certainly no indifference on the part of the community to raise their community voice and let people know how significant and hurtful this particular act was. And thankful for the scrap community who was not indifferent either and made sure that they reported what was turned into them so that we could further this investigation and hold the individuals accountable that were responsible. So thank you.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you very much, and thank you for giving us this time, and thank you for coming and visiting my studio. Ironically, there's a lot of ironies here. Ironically, I got my start as a metal sculptor by visiting and hanging out at these used iron, steel, and bronze dealers in the secondary market. Only reason I'm bringing this up now because I kind of knew what the police chief was going to say, but the very day that I found out about this, I prepared a full package. There are 8 packages here describing the memorial. And the only reason this is relevant is because I told them the one that buys it, you're going to get a premium. So the police chief knows who that is. So if you're going to have him contact me, we'll have to work on getting them some money, because I had explained it to them in this package, what the significance was, and so anyway, I'm glad we got it solved. If you want to view the pieces as they are here, they're behind here. Before you leave here, if you want to take pictures of the images and to see that what damage was done. The good news is that they're all reparable, and there's some things that have got to be done to make it fit back into the sculpture, or the memorial rather. But more importantly, I found out something about the way these things were attached, and so we've got to get our heads together with the mayor and his wife to secure these things so they're not so easily, because this was done probably with a single pry bar, because all he had to do was break those bolts on the back loose on the big piece here. There was some cutting and sawing on the 2 pieces that he took off, but it's reparable. I had thrown out a budget to the mayor, but it's now that we have the pieces here, there's a lot of work to do on them, but it's not nearly as much as the first price I quoted him. I got a little chip on my shoulder here a little bit about this project, and this has to do with this whole art thing in the community. There's so many wild, crazy stories that got out about this memorial, about who did it, who conceived it, and there was only one person that really conceived it, and you know who she is. My God, this has been a dream of hers. This is her baby, and if it wasn't for her, we wouldn't even have that sculpture there. So that's the rumors that got out that there was a whole bunch of other people involved in this, but it's totally untrue. And there was another rumor that got out. The only reason I'm saying this to you, because I get contacted by all the news organizations, and from New York to Los Angeles, I've been getting calls accusing me of not doing this memorial. Some magic person put it together and did it, and Ed Dwight didn't have anything to do with it. Now, why this is relevant is that I've been fighting this my entire art career, that how can this astronaut guy be building memorials? That's not the sort of thing that can be done. So I'm this magic guy to run around hiring a bunch of little minions, telling them how to do all this and to build all these great memorials and stuff. And I'm just sitting there directing traffic, getting the people to do the work. So I want to get that on the record, on the public record, that I really, really do these things. And I started out in my art career dealing with junkyards. That's how I got started doing sculpture in the first place. So my reverence for junkyards is really good. And the people that called in, we got to do something to compensate them, because that was a public service. They didn't need to do that, to tell you the truth. And they did. Hopefully, it was something that I said in the package that I sent to them, or just a reverence for the memorial and what the memorial meant to this community. So thank you all for coming over and allowing us to tell you what's going on. And the pieces are back here if you want to look at them and inspect them and take pictures of them or whatever. And the good news is that there's not serious beat down damage to the main section. Thank you.
Vern Howard, last speaker, chair of the King Holiday Commission, and then we'll take questions.
Again, thank you for being here. I'll tell you what, it took the work of the community, definitely the police department and all that they do. Chief Thomas, thank you so much, because if it weren't for them wanting to do their job, we wouldn't be here today. And the work that they did is just phenomenal. And Ed Dwight's absolutely right. When Mrs. Webb came up with this vision, he and I, we were laughing and talking about how we first went to the mayor's office and looked at the project, so forth, so on. And we want to thank you. We do want to say that the GoFundMe account is still going to be active, and we're asking people to continue to donate to it, because although the pieces have been recovered, they have to be repaired, and then they'll have to be remounted and secured. And we also want to make sure that we have proper lighting as well as surveillance equipment out there that will capture and make Chief Thomas's job easier in the event somebody ever wanted to do something of this nature again. The Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Colorado Holiday Commission, we want to thank Mayor and Mrs. Webb, Chief Thomas, Ed Dwight. It's ironic, the last time he and I were at the monument together was on June 9th of 2002 until last week. So we just want to say thank you, and thank you for being here.
We also want to commend Mayor Johnston, who has opened up his office to work with us and to assign people to work on this project. Evan Dreyer has been especially important, as has been Arts and Venues Department. If there are questions for any of the speakers, we'll do them as I saw them. 1, 2, 3.
Okay. Do you know how long will it take for those repairs to be completed? Do you have a timetable as to when?
That's a your question. You want to come over here? Yeah.
It'll probably take maybe 2 months, thereabouts, because there's a lot of work to do, especially inspecting the pieces that are there, because part of any repair work has to do with securing those pieces that are there, because now we had an invitation to somebody that to the next vandal, if you will. Okay. These guys got away with that, and if they didn't change something, we'll take our chance at it and stuff, because that's not going to stop the people who really want the money, and they need the money in their world. They need the money and everything's up for grab to them.
Down 31. And then 9.
Kind of, sorry, it was still for you. Just kind of piggybacking on that, you said about 2 months. You think 2 months people can expect to see it back in place and up, or 2 months until it's kind of put back together?
Okay, let's say 90 days.
Okay. And then was just gonna ask if there's a rough estimate of like the cost now for the repairs.
I'm not discussing that.
Okay,
I'll
that's fine.
discuss that with the right people.
Is this, what is it made out of? What metal is it? Because we've been going back and forth with bronze,
Yeah.
brass.
Yeah, the only thing that you can make poured metal out of is bronze, silicon bronze. Now you can make sculptures out of steel, but it doesn't pour. Bronze is the only thing that pours. Copper doesn't pour very well, so it's silicon bronze. And the silica part is what allows the bronze to heat up and pour. Okay.
Is there a casting? Is there a casting?
Yeah, everything there is cast.
But
Yeah.
do you have the original cast?
Oh no. That's this is 20 years ago, and molds fall apart and they deteriorate and they shrink, and so even if I had the molds, they would be a size smaller than because the molds shrink. Okay.
Can I just ask? Oh.
Channel 9.
Question for the chief. Just wanting to clarify, it sounds like there were pieces of the Thatcher Memorial found along with these pieces from that scrap company that you mentioned.
That is correct.
Are we also looking for additional suspects outside of that one identified suspect, or we
it is
haven't
our-
connected the two yet?
No, it is our strong belief that the same suspect is responsible for both thefts.
Okay. And we're not looking for additional outside
No.
suspects for the Thatcher Memorial?
No, that is correct.
Okay.
Is it just a matter of locating that person that you know of?
Yes, so that person has been identified. I mean, they presented an ID in order for us to be able to positively identify that individual. There was another individual that was an accomplice that we have not identified, but his picture is in the bulletin.
Hey, Ed, may I ask, now that you know what happened, I mean, initially you believe they took this for the value of this, and the chief, the department is saying at this time it does not appear to have been a bias-motivated crime. Is that in any way comforting because you've had damage to other of your works too? This conclusion, and have you come to the belief that no, indeed, it was not bias motivated for sure? And what are your thoughts on
Are you asking me?
that? Yes, sir. Yeah.
The fact of the matter, it doesn't make any difference whether it's racially motivated or for the value. Okay, the damage, whatever's done is done, and if we can prove that it was done for racial reasons, then we can raise hell and raise more consciousness. Okay, but the fact that it was stolen for money value doesn't. It doesn't. The whole point of being the damage is done, and no matter why they did it, we got to fix it, or it damages whatever. Even if we can't fix it, the damage is done. They're equal, in my opinion. Okay.
In the process of creating this, I remember learning an education about what sculptors do when I visited Daniel Chester French's home. He created the seated Lincoln, as I'm sure you know.
Right.
And I said, oh wow, the sculptors, they do the initial work and then other people enlarge it. And that's what you do, right? You explain to us, and that is frustrating that somebody would think that you hadn't done the work. You're the one who creates this cast, right? Tell me that process.
Yeah. Well, I'm loath to tell you how I got into casting bronze, because I went to a white foundry when I first started, and the guy explained, he cast one piece for me, and then explained to me that, Ed, please don't bring any more pieces up here. What's going on? He said, we just don't like casting nigger art here. So I got in my Porsche and I drove back to Denver, went straight to the bank and borrowed $70,000. And Bill Flory asked me, what the hell are you going to do with $70,000? I said, I'm going to build a foundry. And he says, what do you know about it? I said, don't know a damn thing about casting bronze, but I'm going to build a foundry, which is what I did. And I operated that foundry until about a year ago. So I didn't have to go to the white foundries to get my work done. Of course, after I got rolling, they all came, oh, we want to cast your bronzes now. And naturally, I've got a large operation, 12, 15 employees, and we're all casting bronze, and I'm doing 3 memorials a year out of this stuff. And so all of a sudden now they want to come back and cast my work. So the whole idea is that you're right, most sculptors do not cast their own work. All they do is do the original art. A mold has to be made of that, and then it has to be reproduced in wax, and then that's taken to the foundry. And the foundry takes that wax and casts it into bronze, welds it back together, and calls the artist and says, hey, we got it ready. What color do you want it? And he decides what color, and then he goes back home, and he goes back after it's all colored and patinaed, and he calls them, where do you want it delivered? And so I wish I lived in that world all these 45 years that I've been doing this, but I was just unable to do it. And once I got into it, I was able to control it. And I could do things a lot cheaper than other foundries because I could control all aspects of it. And I taught my people very, very well, and we got things done, and we got things efficiently to the point where I've done 132 memorials around this country. So
I just ask you.
Larry,
I was just gonna ask.
I used to be a school teacher. You weren't called on yet.
I was just gonna make.
So
ask
now,
him
who you directing the question to?
to Mr. Dwight.
Okay.
I just don't want to have.
Any other questions? Because we're gonna wrap this up.
Right.
I want to thank B. Harris and representatives from Urban Spectrum that are here. I also want to thank representatives from Brother Jeff that's here. Our former school board member Tay Anderson is here. And after we conclude, then those of you can come up and get closer shots of the artwork. Okay, last question.
I was just gonna ask, how it felt to, see someone taking it and not having regard, for the history behind it, what it meant, and then just, putting it in 4 pieces. I guess seeing it back here, just kind of how that made you feel.
well, no, I mean, it's obviously heartbreaking. You kind of feel sad for a minute, but after that minute's over, you react to getting it fixed, whatever it was. I got to start from scratch to get it to where it is now, or I fix it and we get it back up and we protect it from that point on. Okay? But I don't stay heartbroken for. I give it a minute or two and move on. That's the only thing we can do.
We do want to thank all of you for the coverage that you've had on your respective channels. Because I don't think there's, unless they sleep, would not know that the King sculpture was damaged, and we saw that on every channel, both electronic media as well as print media. So we want to say thank you to all of you as well.
And I would just like to end the way that I began. I had mentioned that thousands of people were very concerned and really did respond to trying to bring this sculpture back to its present condition before it was disturbed. And so there are a lot of people who really do care and who were heartbroken, including Ed. Ed is the creator of the monument, but those of us who worked for the life of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and for what he stood for, we were very disturbed that that had happened. And as I said earlier, I want this trend and these acts to stop. And everybody needs to know that, because that's our story as Americans.
I did forget one item. I forgot I was also on here to beg. $10,000 is not enough for security cameras and lighting. For the small folks, community folks have really stepped up in terms of providing funds for the monument and for the repair of the monument. Now, a lot of you that are listening to this news conference today that have deeper pockets, that are lighting companies, that are security companies, this might be a good donation for you and your business to make a donation to the city so that we can get those security lights up on the King sculpture as well as the security system. That's going to be a lot to ask from small community folks that are donating $10 and $15. But we will continue to ask because we think it's important everybody participate. But also for some of the big shots out there, you got the cash. Let's share some with getting this monument protected. Thank you for coming.
Chief, can we get a picture with you real quick?
Yes,